Welcome to the History in the Making. Today is actually a very special day because we will be unveiling the first digital twin of a Canadian city, the city of Toronto. Now, some of you may be wondering, what is a digital twin? So, for the folks here, a digital twin is a virtual replica of a physical object, such as a machine or a building, and in this case, a city, that allows for simulation, testing, and analysis. Now, this technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we approach sustainability, development, maintenance, optimization, and I can go on and on and on, but I'd rather you hear from a very special person who we're joined with today, the man, the myth, the legend, Raza himself, the founder and CEO of MetaWorldX. Raza, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, Maddie. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. So I know everyone's tuned in and they're all excited to see not you and me, but the city of Toronto. But first, before we do that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Raza Jafri. A lot of you already know me, and I actually got into tech by mistake over a decade ago. I'm an urban planner. Once I graduated in my studies in my undergrad, I realized, that there weren't very many options. It was 2008, 2009, like a recession, and I had to think outside the box. So that's when I moved from Montreal to Toronto. And it was very frustrating because in urban planning, we were using a lot of like analog tools to solve future problems, especially when it came to sustainability. We were expected to solve the sustainable problems using analog technology, but it just didn't make sense that we were drawing it. And taking urban planning from analog to digital was always something I wanted to do. And playing SimCity as a kid was always in the back of my head, that like, how is it that we can use tools to help cities become proactive rather than reactive. And it wasn't until 2013 where I was working on a project for the city of Edmonton, where we were designing a campus, a biofuel recycling facility that required us to show the building. We built it in AutoCAD.
Nice.
Very quickly, the city was like, okay, how is it that we can show outside of this area, like the urban environment, the traffic, the air pollution, how it's all affected. This was music to my ears as an urban planner, but as a professional, I felt kind of frustrated because the tools we were using in the architecture, engineering, planning world, we felt very limited, whether it was SketchUp, AutoCAD, Revit, and BIM. So I started a journey to search for the best technology that we could bring into this world. And that led me to Hollywood. And why Hollywood? Because they were using, especially in movies like The Matrix and stuff, you would see very high quality video game technology. So I was like, why aren't we using video game technology in the design world? We live in these cities. We're trying to shape a better urban environment using, sustainable technologies. Maybe we should bring this in. Then a huge eye-opening experience happened where a friend of mine, he was walking to work one day in Montreal, and because of construction negligence, unfortunately he passed away. There was a 2-ton steel plate that crushed him, and essentially it opened my eyes, because it made me realize that, look, there's so many systems in place. There's so much data that's coming into to cities and these critical infrastructure environments, but there's not enough time for us to take action. By the time we go through data, by the time we implement procedures, it's already too late, and we need tools that can help us become proactive rather than reactive. So that led me to go and pursue my graduate studies. I got my executive MBA from Queens, came back into the corporate world, and started my tech journey. After a few tech ventures, now we're building MetaWorldX, which is bringing all of that, the learned thought process, the ideas, the connections, the ecosystem together. So it's really, really exciting. That gives you a little glimpse of my journey, how we got to this point.
The man. All right. Well, when I came in and you were showing me above Toronto, and for the viewers, we're gonna put this up on stage right now, above the clouds. And I just want to pause here for a moment because this is literally above the clouds of Toronto. Why Toronto, Raza?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Maddie. So Toronto is where we live. This is where our families are. This is our home. And also because of the fact that there's a need. This city is a great city. It's growing very fast. Like a lot of North American cities, we're facing issues like urban sprawl, and we have all these initiatives that we want to reduce carbon emissions. We want to hit the net zero targets, and we need technology to come together and bring all of this data into one system. So Toronto, it was a no-brainer. This is where a lot of the work, a lot of the projects that we do, a lot of our network, and there's users right here in Toronto that need this technology. So it just made sense to start in our own backyard, make sure that the MVP, the systems, the proof is right here in Toronto, and then we can scale all around the world.
Well, it's interesting, right? Toronto is the largest city in Canada. It's the fourth largest city in North America. And an interesting fact, there's over 10 million trees in the city of Toronto, which is interesting. So let's see those beautiful trees. Let's see that beautiful skyline. Why don't you, like when we're on a plane and we're landing into Pearson Airport, I know we're not going to get Pearson here, but give us the tour. Let's unveil Toronto.
Absolutely. So here we go. So Mehdi's right. We're actually starting in the sky, early morning, Toronto. When you log into the environment, it's the actual time. So I made it early morning, so it's nice and beautiful. And we're gonna go down through the clouds into our beautiful city of Toronto, Canada. And here we go. So first thing we're gonna do is once you're in the environment, you have to clear the fog.
So
And then let's make
you're
it a little.
clearing the fog, clearing the clouds. You can simulate and do that real time. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. So when you go into an environment, any environment that MetaWorldX creates, the actual environment, the weather. See, it's 2.66 degrees outside. So anybody watching from a warmer climate, don't
Relax.
you wish you were here right now? And then yeah, so this is our city of Toronto,
Beautiful.
early in the morning. And you
Good
can click
old
on different assets like flight information here.
good old Porter. And so, I'm looking at the screen here on the left-hand side. It says partly cloudy, etc. So you have the ability to change the fog, change the snow, change the rain. Yeah, I mean, let's make it snow in Toronto. What happens here?
Yeah, so this is an example of weather simulation within these metaverses. So you can literally be able to see how weather patterns can affect a city. So you could bring in historical data. So the amazing thing about what we're doing is that we have very good partnerships with with institutions and partners and organizations that are actually feeding us live data. So environmental when it comes to like environmental data, we have the ability to show not just live, weather, but historical data all the way back from 1979 till now,
Oh,
as well as the ability to do simulations for insight. And that is exactly why the technology is a game changer, because it's not just about having a powerful environment, visual environment. It's the ability to get insights from it, the ability to learn from it, and where this technology is going. It's absolutely phenomenal because you're going to be able to not just gather insights and do simulations, but actually be able to, communicate questions like, if on January 27th, 2008, what was the weather and how should I dress for March 3rd, 2023, for example. All these type of questions you're gonna be able to get those answers within these kind of environments.
and Reza, you know what? My favorite time of the year in Toronto is when it's nice and hot. So, this snow, there's a lot of the snow that we've been seeing. So I was wondering if you can make it nice and hot in the city of Toronto. And my favorite time of the day in the city of, oh, you're going to make it rain. That's fun too. It's, that afternoon.
I'm doing exactly the opposite of what you wanted, Maddie.
You're making it storm and rain. Now, tell me, how can, weather manipulation, where you're able to play around with the weather, how can that how does that help cities and you know, from an environmental sustainability standpoint?
Yeah, from an environmental sustainability side, it's very important for there to be parameters. So there's a lot of data that we're bringing into the system, and you're going to start seeing some of the live data very soon. I'm going to open it. Why is weather very important? Because as we see, you know, climate change is affecting our environments rapidly, whether it's rural or urban. And these kind of different data sets that are being fed into these metaverse environments, the digital twins, are imperative because they give us the ability to be able to not just see what's happening right now, but to be able to see what can happen, you know, in an emergency situation next week. So if there's a hurricane or if there's a large, you know, like a ice storm event that we have sometimes in these northern cities, to be able to deploy emergency resources to the areas that require, you know, service first. So for example, with predictive analysis, if there's tremors in a certain part of an area or a country or a city, that data can be fed into the system and you can follow that information to more accurately predict where the epicenter would be. And then that can actually help reduce costs, increase, emergency response, and hopefully save lives.
Amazing. Wow. And how many kilometers of Toronto have you built out already?
So for Toronto, we were able to do 16.66 kilometers,
Beautiful.
and it's a fairly large area of the downtown core and a chunk of the city. And we're actually, the good news is we're starting to expand very quickly around this as well.
And you know, one of the things I notice is with this, I'm noticing some shadow impacts that when you were moving the sun around and different angles and stuff like that. Why is it important for, you know, especially from a development standpoint and, you know, solar, et cetera, you know, explain to the crowd on how that benefits them.
Yeah, so coming from the world of urban planning, shadow impact studies are imperative, especially when it comes to building permits and understanding what air rights are going to look like, how a new building will be affected or affecting its urban environment. So absolutely, this technology is capable of showing shadow impacts. It's going to eventually get to the point where you can actually show the shadow impacts of, you know, if you're sitting at a restaurant or cafe. We got that question last week on LinkedIn. And, if you're sitting at a certain place in the city, how is it that, you know, on June 21st, what will the shadow be like at 2 p.m.? Because the densification of our cities, it's reducing some sunlight in the urban core areas. And it's very important for us, not just as solution providers, but even the planning world to be able to see that information in real time.
Interesting. And you know, I know there's so much more to see and time is flying, but I wanted you to really show me how the digital twin, the metaverse, and the IoT sort of bridge together because I know there's a lot more real life data that you can show, but show me some of that stuff.
Okay, sure. So moving on from the environment, now we're going to get into the data. So thanks to the Smart Territory Framework, AWS, our partnership, we are able to bring in live data into these urban environments, which was not possible before. And you can see in real time, these are humidity levels coming in from the city of Toronto right now as we speak, and from the sensors. So we have the ability, even if there's hundreds and hundreds of sensors bringing totally different types of data, we have the ability to showcase it on one visual front-end platform. So it's a language of its own. We are breaking down those silos by creating the ability to bring in all this data in a visual language. So as you could see, it's warmer as you go closer to Yonge and Bloor area, but near the CN Tower, it's 0 degrees here, and by the water, it's 1 degree. So these fluctuate during the day, even whether it's carbon emissions or nitrogen dioxide at different times of the day, it fluctuates. And during rush hour, sometimes when we open the application, you would see where there's more traffic congestion, you actually see the carbon emissions rising fairly high. So any city that we built, we noticed that during rush hour, that's when you see a spike in some of this data.
I'm just in Oh, I just keep looking at this and I mean, the amount of things you can do with this is just literally unreal. Um, Now, this comes down to IoT devices. Now, how can people benefit from these amazing IoT devices, bridging digital twins? And, I see air quality, I see humidity. Let's move forward. Let's move into some of this stuff here. What is this all about that you're pulling up here on
Yeah, so
buildings and roads?
this is just an example. For the city of Toronto, it's very important, especially as we want to attract, more businesses to the city and more tourism. It's, this technology has the ability to help in multiple facets. So, showing mobility hubs, showing where all the businesses are, the industries, the hotels, right? All the academic institutions. So this is very important because even for MetaWorldX, we're part of these accelerators and these really, really cool, incubators around the city. We want to be able to show the future startups, the future technology companies that want to come here. The best way to attract tech is by using tech. What better way to attract the future businesses and the future startups and the future, pioneers of new technology to the city than by using something like this? All the residential areas. So we're working on some really cool stuff, obviously, on the city level by adding, more data and demographics, where most of the software IT people live, where the health care clusters are. A lot of that demographic information is critical for, for companies that are looking to come and establish their headquarters in a city like Toronto.
It's interesting because, some of the things you're saying, like demographics, for example, I'm always looking at StatsCan and pulling up, data on, different where occupations, ages, single family dwellings, resident, and we're doing that all. Like a lot of organizations do this sort of stuff. And what really sucks is, and I've always thought about this, I wish I could visually see this. I wish I could actually see that cluster of where it is and visually understand it. This is what you've done here. You're able to overlay all the data, and I mean, look, that's a beautiful view of the on top of the city of Toronto. You can really go down, you can go up, you can see it from different angles, you can really visualize it. I think that's what makes it really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the biggest frustration I had, coming out of university was the fact that we didn't have, we were looking at 2D maps, and 2D maps were great for a long time, but now it's time to take it up a notch, to step up, and we're seeing the biggest opportunities for us are coming from outside of Canada. But I still feel that we have the ability to make really good decisions for the future of our cities, for the future of our infrastructure, because as our infrastructure ages, it's important to monitor it and it's important to make decisions based on priorities. I sit on a board for a community center here in Toronto, and we're literally doing what we're showing here. We're doing it on a micro level there, managing the building asset, the building envelope, trying to increase the life expectancy of the asset and trying to be proactive with capital costs. So this is exactly why critical
Wow.
infrastructure requires something, not just to, no, this technology is not just good for the permit processing, for getting, for getting clicks, for getting things done faster, like going to the city and being like, okay, 10 stories, click, 20 stories, click. This is what the building will look like. This is going to be the impact to the urban environment. This is the walk score, the visual walk score. But beyond that, using it for sales and marketing, and even further than that, using it for asset management. So managing the energy of the entire asset, like the resort that we're working on right now in Florida. Once that entire all the phases are complete, they're going to be able to use that from an internal perspective for managing, the water consumption in the buildings, to the energy consumption, to traffic, etc. But from an external perspective, people are going to be able to see water temperatures in the swimming pool before they even get to the resort. They're going to be able to do self check-in through the digital twin before they even arrive there. So there's some amazing capabilities of in the metaverse for real world solutions like this. This is not this is not an environment where we expect like people to just play around. This is for making real life decisions that can affect how we build the future of our cities and how we use sustainable technology, clean technology to be able to become more efficient and more effective in our decision making.
And I know, Rosa, you're building out digital twins for other like digital assets and replicas, right? It's not just cities. I mean, cities is the big thing right now in the world right now. But I want to touch on roads, and your bicycle lanes and your subway lines, and it allows organizations and cities to do really real-time monitoring, to do safety monitoring, to do predictive maintenance, to do engagement and education from the citizens within the community. How, and I'm just looking at this at the bicycle roads and stuff. What kind of impact does that have on a city and its people?
Yeah, so infrastructure, road network is critical to any environment because it can either increase, the socioeconomic power of the citizens or affect it in a negative way. So it's very important for us to be able to showcase the infrastructure. The grid here that you're seeing is the whole infrastructure network in the city when it comes to roads, and adding like data such as the traffic on top of this or carbon emissions on top of this to be able to really analyze and gather insights on what areas of the city are creating the most pollution. And if you were to take away, for example, an area like the Gardiner Expressway, how that would decrease greenhouse gas emission. There's so many goals that we have for the city. And now we finally have a tool that we can use to be able to show that EV charging stations, the bike path, where the new bike paths have to be, how are we going to effectively, have intermodal areas, for especially with urban sprawl being an issue, we have to kind of showcase these different transit nodes and how they're connecting Toronto and Torontonians. So this is hopefully a step towards that direction. It's not even the final solution. We have a long way to go, but hopefully this is going to help us get there faster.
And I've been, over the last little bit, and I see parks here, which is great. I see shops. You can really quickly identify parks. You can overlay that with shops. You can overlay that with malls. It's just, and it's just beautiful. I've been on a couple of calls with you, being a strategic advisor at MetaWorldX, and listening into these cities around the world, cities that have not been built to cities that are already built, that are optimizing whether it's their bike paths or their EV or their ECDEV. And when it comes to the city of Toronto, because that's what we're doing, we're unveiling the city of Toronto. How can the economical development of the city be bolstered and optimized with a digital twin?
Yeah, so we're actually seeing a lot of activity from ECDEV right now. So essentially, whether it's a city that's not even built yet, like some of the projects we're doing abroad, or over here in North America, it's very important to be able to show how the city, what the energy rates are, how it's consuming it, how, where the grids are, what alternative energy sources are, because for larger companies, they require, these are part of their capital costs, and it's very important for them to know. And then to attract these kind of companies and these kind of basically, there's so many startups that are looking at Toronto now as a future home, as a future, HQ for their business. It's important for economic development agencies to have the best tool, because rather than showing a picture of Toronto, hey, this is Toronto, this is what it looks like, how about we get into the nitty gritty? How about we show how close Billy Bishop Airport is to the downtown core? You can just jump on a flight here and it'll take you, to Buffalo or to Montreal or to Toronto, and you'll get there, that much quicker. Or you look at the city and you're able to gather insights like, okay, where are all the academic institutions located? Where is all the residential, and what are the prices of the homes in that area? So that kind of information is critical when it, like, as tech founders ourselves, you and I, we deal with these questions all the time as we're looking to expand our businesses and expand, our talent base of employees and students that we want to bring into our ecosystem. We need to have these kind of tools. We need to have this kind of information at our fingertips. And now ECDEV can absolutely leverage this kind of information to be able to attract the talent, the businesses that they need to in a much faster and a provocative way, because it initiates conversation at a totally different level, where it's more like, okay, we're considering Toronto. We wanna look at this kind of demographic data. We want to understand this, and it can all be done so much more faster, so much more efficiently and effectively, and it's just a cleaner way to be able to showcase the power of our cities and the power of our people.
Amazing, amazing. I got a question here that's come in. What environmental impact, when it comes to sustainability, can digital twins help with?
Yeah, so that's an excellent question. So a lot of the environmental agencies that we're engaged with, especially in Southeast Asia right now, for them, there's coming out of COP27, there's a lot of ESG goals that companies are focused on, and it's not just environmental agencies that are thinking about this. Corporations, companies, cities, citizens, universities, everybody's thinking about this right now. The environmental challenge that rests on our shoulders is, what proactive tools are we using in order to reduce redundancy and increase visibility and transparency with what actions we're taking. Perfect example right here in Toronto. Our city is working on hitting net zero targets by 2050. To be able to show the actual impacts on a digital twin like this is very, very powerful, because it's not only like, this is what we've done and this is what it looks like. Before we even do it, this is what we want to do. What will it look like is the first question. And having this tool allows us to have a conversation at that level, and to be able to execute and make decisions that are much more effective on a city scale, that we can take to the world and be like, this is what our city is doing.
I mean, I'm just looking at this, and yeah, I was in London not too long ago, and they have in downtown in the core, there's no driving, or it's just premium surcharge, and the purpose of that is to, reduce carbon emissions, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, and just looking at Toronto here, imagine for a moment, what's great about this technology is you can say, hey, if we had no cars that are allowed to drive in that core downtown area, Bay Street, where the ACC is, for a couple of days, what would that do to carbon emission? You're able to really simulate and do that right here, which is powerful. We have a couple of minutes left. Raza, what's in store? What's coming up next for the city of Toronto? And I know you're cooking up a whole bunch of stuff, but what's coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so it's really exciting right now. This is probably the most exciting space to be in right now, which is metaverse, obviously. But we're looking at it from a functional point of view, where we can make tangible, real-world decisions using this technology. What's in the pipeline right now? So there's a lot of work right here that we're focused on in the GTA, all the way from the border, Niagara Falls, to there's areas that we're getting into that definitely see the positive impact this can bring to their region. Canada is a great place for us to have our headquarters, to be able to take this to the world. What we're doing in different parts of the world is just absolutely amazing. Our business model is also, we've structured it in a way that is very appetizing here in North America, because there are certain challenges when you're working with cities and stuff like that. So as an urban planner, and with the strategic advisors that we have on board, we are able to overcome those challenges, because we've been in this environment, and we're bringing a technology that and we're bringing a knowledge from that world, and we're able to connect the dots that way. So for our business model here in North America, is we're building these and we're licensing them, and it's working really well. And in different parts of the world, there's different kind of challenges, but when it comes to their ability to move quickly and for us to create these environments, we're able to deliver on that. So Toronto, stay tuned. It's going to get better and better and better. The future of this technology is the most exciting part. It's the metaverse of the world for the world, and it's the social impact that's really, really driving us to really push this to the next level.
Well, I mean, thank you very much for your time. I know it's been 30 minutes, and we want to And I know we can go on here for people that want to reach out and learn more and chat with you and see how their cities can incorporate this, or municipalities or towns, or even their digital assets, because there's many ways that the metaverse could be used and the digital twins could be used. You can definitely reach out at www.metaworldx.com, and you can add us on LinkedIn as well, and Raza as well, and myself. Feel free to reach out to us. Just any closing words before we log off here, Rosa?
No, I'm just really glad. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and just let us know if you have any questions, comments, ideas. We believe in working in partnerships and an ecosystem, and we've been fortunate enough to have so many people believe in what we've been doing. We've learned a lot from our past failures, and we want to continue to get better. And I think that the future is open for anybody that really wants to get into the metaverse. It doesn't have to be the way that things are. You can have your input and you can play a part in it with your background. So don't be afraid. Get look into this massive opportunity. We live in a great country, and we live in an excellent time for us to really bring solutions that can help our future generations. So I really want to thank everyone, and I want to thank you, Mehdi, for being here and asking these amazing questions, and being a believer in what we've been doing here at
Yeah, no,
MetaWorldX.
thank you very much. Thank you for allowing us to see the history in the making, and letting us in to a small window of the digital twin of the first Canadian city, which is the city of Toronto. For all those tuning in, we have a lot more to come in the near future. And again, feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for your time, and everyone, have yourself a wonderful day.